Hi, this is James,
And Virginia.
and we are here to teach everybody how to play Vici. Vici, as we saw on our shirts, this was the equation that we came up with. It looks like some kind of difficult math, but you're going to see that it's false math. It's actually kind of a joke. Uh, the equation says Vx equals 3d times 3t cubed. And while that does seem like some kind of complex algebra, what it means is the V stands for V. The X stands for the letter chi from the Greek alphabet, which is spelled CHI. But we're going to pronounce it chi and not chi because it works for us that way. So basically we have V chi equals is 3D, three-dimensional, 3 triple T3 tic-tac-toe. So basically, this formula reads, Vici is three-dimensional triple tic-tac-toe. I hope we didn't fool you with all that math. Now, everyone knows what this is. This is how you play tic-tac-toe. This is the tic-tac-toe grid. This is X and O, the characters that are played on the grid. And then, of course, there are the simple rules of tic-tac-toe. Well, we changed all three of these to suit our purpose. And our purpose basically is to play 3 games of tic-tac-toe all at the same time. So, the grid turned into this board. And as you can tell, each of these boards is a 3x3 grid, just like a tic-tac-toe grid. And then there are 3 of them that are stacked right on top of each other. So now we just have 3 tic-tac-toe grids that are 3x3, and then 3 of them is 3. So now we have 3x3x3 playing board. 27 spaces. That's pretty simple. 27 spaces, and they go along the straight directions. Up and down, back and forth, and side to side. Up and down, back and forth, side to side. The pieces, the characters X and O that are played in tic-tac-toe, we had to turn into a different set. We're trying to play 3 simultaneous games of tic-tac-toe at the same time, so we had to have a way to differentiate between which one's which. So we took X and assumed that it was black. We took O, assumed that that was white. Then we took the most basic geometric shapes that we could come up with, the square, the triangle, and the circle, and then we made 3 of each. So basically what we came up with, plus then we added 1 wild piece to each. Basically what we came up with was a set of 10 for each black and white. There are 3 squares, 3 triangles, 3 circles, and 1 wild piece represented by the hexagon. That made 10 for white, 10 for black. In this set, the wild piece that Virginia was just displaying it's called the multi. In this set, it's represented by this thing, which is 3 planes coming together. The square, when turned into a solid, turned into a cube, and we refer to the names of each of these pieces is from the shape of the top. So that cube is called a flat. That's called a flat. When you hear us refer to it, we'll say flats. The triangle turned into a tetrahedron, and we refer to it as point. That is a point. When you get 3 in a row, you say, I've got points. The circle turned into an orb, and we refer to those as rounds. And then, of course, the drawing here is a hexagon, but we refer to that as a multi. So we will be calling them flats, points, rounds, and multis. Black and white. The only real big definition we have is the word alignment, and that is simply 3 in a row. The goal then is to be the first person to make an alignment with all three of the different types of pieces at the same time. 3 flats, 3 points, 3 rounds, all at the same time. The first one to do that wins. Pretty simple. There are very few rules. The first rule, no diagonals. Now this part confuses most people the first game. In tic-tac-toe, we all know that a diagonal makes you get 3 in a row. You can get 3 in a row and diagonal or in diagonal. But in this one, seeing how it is already 3-dimensional, only alignments along the 3 directions are allowed. That's front to back, side to side, and up and down. This diagonal is not allowed. That diagonal, not allowed. This diagonal, not allowed. Diagonals are not allowed. That's easy enough to understand. A diagonal we define as any 3 spaces that are a combination of the 3 original directions.
So let me make sure I understand. No diagonals, right?
No diagonals. Second rule, any piece may be played into any open space. Right now I can take any piece on my opening play and put it anywhere on these 27 different spaces. You don't capture it, other people's pieces. You don't do anything like that. It's completely passive manipulation. You play your any piece that you want at any time into any open space.
On your turn.
On your turn. The third rule is once you have an alignment, as the game progresses, you can break that alignment as long as you announce it and then put it all back together later. That's basically the main gist of the strategy, which you'll see as we play. So alignments may be broken. And then the last rule is in reference to the wild piece that we told you is now called the multi, which is short for multiple use piece, or the wild piece. The multi it has 2 main functions, and it's what makes this whole game go around. If you get an alignment, that would count as alignment, but you can also use a multi instead of one of the pieces. So a multi can represent any of the other pieces in an alignment. Now the important part to remember about this is that the multi can also be used in multiple alignments at the same time. So if it were played here, you would have 2 alignments. You would have your flats and your points. And if you're really tricky, you could even get 3 alignments on it, flats, points, and rounds. So it can represent any other piece, and it can be used in multiple alignments at the same time. That's all pretty easy. Now, as I said, the main strategy of the game is usually the realignments. And that is when you have an alignment, and during your turn you announce, I'm breaking my alignment and moving it somewhere else. They play, and then you realign it.
Or sometimes you can break it to make a new alignment.
Yes, basically the whole idea is break your alignment to realign somewhere else during the game.
I suppose you wouldn't have to, though, correct?
You don't have to, but as the game progresses, you pretty much need to get to a point where you do break your own alignments, or the game will never end. Now, you may be wondering why it's named Vici and why so adamant about it. Well, I'm pretty sure everybody can recognize this quote. Veni, Vidi, Vici, as uttered by Julius Caesar however many thousands of years ago. And that, of course, meant I saw, or I conquered. In our context, I conquered, we're using it to say, I win. So, that being the case, we took that terminology and applied it to the phases of the game. In this game, there are basically, each person goes through having one alignment, having 2 alignments, having 3 alignments. And if you get 3 alignments, you would win. So when you have 1 alignment, you say feini, meaning I have 1 alignment. When you have 2 alignments, you would then say viti, meaning 2 alignments. And if indeed you score 3 alignments, you would then say I have 3 alignments, and at the same time say I win by declaring vici. Now I know that this is spelled V-I-C-C-I, that's the Italian or the Latin way to spell it. And we have taken a little bit of liberty by throwing in the C-H-I, but pretty much it says the same thing. Vici, with an exclamation mark, meaning 3 alignments, and also meaning I win. These are also other terms that will come into play during the game. If indeed I had 2 alignments during the game, and I broke one of them, right now I would be at VT. If I broke this alignment, I would say regresso a veni, meaning I have stepped back to having 1 alignment. Regresso a veni. If you break 2 alignments at the same time, like with a multi-piece, you would say regresso a nihil. If you had 1 alignment and you needed to break it, this would be regresso a nihil, meaning I have stepped back to nothing, 0. Nihil is the situation in the game when you have no alignments. The other term is called the setup. The setup is the first phase of the game, the first 20 plays of the game, in which you take all 20 pieces and you put them all on the board. Once you are not able to reposition your pieces until all 20 have been put on the board. After setup, you can move your pieces into any open space, and that phase is then called the all-in. Basic 2 phases of the game, the setup and the all-in. And the last term that I have here is called the finale, which is like the grand finale that we all know about. And that is a master move in which you put someone into the position where you have 2 different directions in which you can score and they can't stop you. It's kind of like saying checkmate. You don't really have to finish the game out. We'll try to demonstrate one of those for you later. Okay, I believe that's it for the definitions of how to play Vici. We will give you a couple of demonstration games here in just a little bit. I hope that that was informative, and I hope you are able to play with some more information on the more information that we gave you. Oh, one more thing. I'm sorry, before I go, I want to show you the scoreboard. This scoreboard has a representation for each type of alignment. The flats, the points, and the rounds, as by this square, this triangle, and this circle. When you score, and I would say veni, if I scored veni off flats, I would turn it up. And the other side of the black is colored silver. The other side of the white is colored gold. And then that would be veni a veni, flats and flats. This would be viti a veni. And then when you get to the final phase and you score the third one at the same time, you turn it up and you would say vici.
Come back here.
So this scoreboard is very, very important because during the game you kind of get disoriented, and this keeps track of where you are. Okay, now I think we covered everything, and I hope that it helped you to get a little bit better idea of what we're doing. We're going to show you a couple of exhibition games now. Please bear with us, and we will try to use all the proper terminology and explain some more things as we go along. So thank you very much for watching. Hope it helped, and we will see you later.
Bye.
Bye.